Well, AEW Rampage, oh my god, it had a huge opening. I know you guys know where I'm talking about. The return of CM Punk back into wrestling after 7 years. But don't forget, we got some great matches that they actually put out. Of course, the main event being Jon Moxley versus Daniel Garcia. We even got 205 Live with two interesting matches, including Summer Struggle USA by New Japan Strong. I'm also going to throw in Stardom, which is one of their previous events, one of their big events back in early April. Yokohama Dream Cinderella in spring, which of course was the last match that featured B. Priestley before going to NXT UK. And then finally, we're going to end the entire episode with Impact Wrestling Emergence, who comes out either as the Impact World Champion of the night. So, let's buckle up and watch another episode of the Elite Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that it's pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance. There's promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I'm your host, Gerard here. So, let's begin with AEW Rampage. You guys heard it, you saw it, it's all over social media. Even Pro Wrestling Tees servers went down. The return of CM Punk. Boy, this is something that many fans have been talking about for years. Now, we weren't sure if he will ever show up. Now, there's been a lot of hear and says ever since then. But I have to say, AEW really pulled it off. Even in the press conference that both Punk and on Via whatever they were doing, this was the worst, best kept secret. Basically, it was like, okay, we cannot spoil surprise, but we're not keeping this quiet. But I have to say, it was very, I mean, he was really trying to, he almost got emotional. I think many people he might have thought in his mind that people forgotten about him. I mean, come on. As a fan, we never forget about Punk. And of course, you might have saw the dude crying. And I think people were happy that he was back. And of course, his biggest surprise was making his first challenge is against Darby Allin in All Out, which is also a home field advantage for him, facing against Darby in Chicago. That is something we never will forget, because this is something that we definitely got to see, but we'll see what's going to happen. We are going to see him in Dynamite and all this. So welcome back, Punk, and I can't wait to see you back in the ring. Now, as you know, we have the AEW World Tag Team Eliminator. We have, of course, Private Party versus Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Now, keep in mind, Jurassic Express came up in a big, and it came up short last time on Dynamite against the Young Bucks. But however, they get another opportunity to come up. So this was the first round, or the first semifinal for the Eliminator, and it kind of fits in perfectly. Of course, you would have expected Matt Hardy to get involved, but somehow the Jurassic Express were there. Even the Bucks were watching this in the entire. I think they're maybe afraid of him, even though Christian earlier said that right now he got into Kenny Omega's head, but he's hoping that the Jurassic Express win the AEW World Tag Team title. So they have to beat those who are in the way. So we won't find out until the next match, where Jurassic Express now are in the finals. It's going to be the Varsity Blondes versus the Lucha Brothers. So this is going to be one hell of a match. Now, speaking of what's happening, Once again, Kenny Omega and Don Callis started to spread the conspiracy theories that this is happening. This is something they did not want. They wanted to ensure no one's going to challenge, but they have to be a challenger. But however, Kenny did state that he's going to put him out. He's going to be gone for another 7 years, and to ensure that he never comes back. But we'll see what happens then, since he already is in his head, knowing that he lost the Impact World title. So we'll see where they're going to go with that. The next match is Jade Cargill taking on Kiera Hogan. This match came about maybe on an episode of Dark or Elevation, where they were impressed, both Sterling and Cargill, about Kiera Hogan. Now, we know she's not an official member roster, but if you guys been aware, her girlfriend is involved with the show, but we'll see what happens then. But it was a very interesting match to see Jade Cargill, how she took Kiera Hogan, but it's only a matter of time before we see her hopefully trying to obtain the AEW Women's title from either it's going to be Britt Baker or someone else. Well, we don't know that, but we'll see where we're going to go. Now, the main event is Jon Moxley versus Daniel Garcia. This was one of those matches where Garcia decided to, how do I say, put a name for himself against the top guys. He already lost against Darby Allin, but he's not alone. He had 2.0. And of course, Moxley was not in the mood during the interview, so he wanted to ensure that they think they can make a name for themselves, so they got another thing coming. But Moxley, oh my god, he somehow reversed a submission move into the Bulldog choke and forced Daniel Garcia to win. But however, because of their loss, 2.0 once again attacked. Eddie Kingston tried to help, but it was a numbers game. But I don't know where we see Darby Allin and Sting give them the helping hand that they need. Now, I would be crazy. I would like to see Sting, Darby Allin, Moxley, and Kingston form like their own faction. They seem like they can get along. So I would love to see that. So I don't know if you guys have that distinct feeling, because if it is, it's going to be interesting. So we'll see what's going to happen on Dynamite. And of course, Darby Allin, he is going to face against the best in the world, CM Punk. But we're going to see how this story builds up all the way to All Out. So stay tuned for that. So right now, let's move on forward with 205 Live. Alrighty, so we got 205 Live. The opening match is Andre Chase versus one of my favorite fun-loving wrestlers, and of course, I enjoy Japanese wrestling a whole lot, Ikemen Jiro. As you know, Ikemen Jiro is one of my favorite wrestlers to watch coming out of Japan, because he's unique, and there's nothing wrong with unique. So the idea, I was like wondering, okay, how this is gonna be. Do I think this match was pretty good? It was good. Like, it was not one of the best, because I feel like they could have done a whole lot more in this match, but it was alright. Not gonna criticize, but like I said, I'm a big Ikemen Jiro, and of course he won his match. Now, I don't know why they haven't put him. I don't know if he's officially with the 205 Live brand, because we all know majority of wrestlers that came from there are gone. But hopefully he is. So I'm happy that he's still around, using them for 205 Live, but we'll see where they're going to go with that. The next match we have Grayson Waller, the sensation, taking on Joe Gacy. Now, even Nigel McGuinness believes that Grayson is destined for greatness, but the real question, could he hang with a guy like Joe Gacy? Now, he is not a cruiserweight type, but he was very impressive for what he could do. Now, in 205 Live, it doesn't mean it had to be like 205 like high flying, which we known for, but we have seen wrestlers who are like high flyers, but they normally do groundwork. And I think Joe Gacy is that guy. That kind of reminds me, of course, like Drew Gulak, who was part of the 205 Live, including Serpentico, who is like a cruiserweight, but he mostly does technical techniques. And I think that fits in perfectly. But Joe Gacy, really impressive on his victory, and I think it's one of those wrestlers I definitely need to pay attention a whole lot more. Um, but do I think he's a 205 live material? I don't know. I need to pay attention more to what he can do in this brand. So for now, I'll say he's very impressive, and I'll keep following what he does, and hopefully we'll see what happens down the line. Since we now know he was part of the NXT breakout, but no avail. But I think that's pretty much it for that. Okay, so New Japan Strong are now begun with Summer Struggle USA. As you know, they did two shows with the Road to Summer Struggle Strong. So the first opening match is once again the Alex Coughlin Open Challenge, and this time his challenger is Matt Cross, or as we know him in Impact Wrestling, the Drama King Matthew Renwald. But we also knew him in WWE as Aiden English. So this was really interesting to see him to appear at New Japan Strong. It's kind of like really fun. As you guys know this or not, he was part of Resurgence as a commentator alongside Kevin Kelly and Alex Kozlov. So it was very surprising to see him, but he was very impressive, being the drama king that he is, and of course, um, putting himself in a open challenge that Alex Coughlin actually put up, and now he walked away with the victory. As for Coughlin, well, he has to learn a lot from whatever mistakes he made in order if he wants to graduate from the LA dojo. Next match, we have a six-man tag team match. We have on one side Daniel Garcia, who I mentioned already, Fred Yeehai, and Fred Rosser taking on TJP, Ren Narita, and of course, one of the most recent graduates of the LA Dojo, Clark Connors. Now, there was a lot of talk in this one that it makes perfect sense. If you guys recall what happened in Resurgence, Fred Rosser got in the face of Ren Narita, basically gave him a smile. I don't know if he was loading at him or what, but the match was pretty good. But at this time, it's Ren Narita who I don't want to say had the last laugh, but I can say he was the one who shut him up. And I'm like right now waiting for New Japan. Just please put Ren Narita versus Fred Rosser. This would be a good match. So, New Japan Matchmaker, what are you waiting for? Make it happen. Now, the main event is, of course, a sort of right or wrong or rematch or payback, retribution, however you want to call it. It's Violence Unlimited, Chris Dickinson and Roderick Brody King taking on the West Coast Wrecking Crew, who are now official members of Team Filthy. Now they're righting a wrong. As you recall, it was Violence Unlimited that beat the West Coast Wrecking Crew during Tag Team Turbulence, and now they feel they can right a wrong. But however, they had JR Kratos by the side, and this match was pretty good. They even the West Coast Wrecking Crew tried to separate Chris Dickinson away from Brody King because he is a much bigger factor in the entire match. However, it wasn't enough, and of course, you cannot dismiss the distraction from JR Kratos to ensure that Team Filthy will pick up a victory and that they're the ones who are going to run the entire thing. Like Alex Kozlov said, that they're trying to run Bullet Club's money, show them they're now the new big dogs in the street. So that sort of thing. But I know this was a huge disappointing loss for Violence Unlimited, but I doubt this is over. But this won't be the last time we ever hear from both of these teams whatsoever. Okay, so right now I'm doing Stardom. I was supposed to do Impact Wrestling, but I couldn't watch it. I don't have Impact Plus, but I did watch it on Watch Pro Wrestling. But I decided, you know what? I'm just gonna do Stardom because I already seen it today. Like I said, I'm trying to catch up with everything. This is the Yokohama Dream Cinderella in spring. Yes, there's fall and of course summer, but that's a little later. This one took place at on the 4th of April. Opening match is of course a three-way match. We have Lady C, Ina from uh, Queen's Quest, and of course Azumi, another Queen Quest member. So this is kind of like a two-on-one scenario. But Queen Quest, if you guys know their history, they always look out for themselves. They have to protect each other. But it was a very impressive win. Lady C, who still hasn't picked up a victory yet, but Ina, who actually made her return. Her and her sisters were out of action for quite some time. She picked up an amazing victory on this one with putting Lady C in her place. So basically, this one goes to her. And of course, the next match we have Mina Shirakawa of the Cosmic Angels taking on Momo Watanabe of Queen's Quest. It was a very interesting match. As you know, Momo Watanabe has been well recognized as one of the best wrestlers in Stardom, and of course, the one person that she beat was Io Shirai, and you cannot match that. Mina, who is still learning on the learning curve from time, has improved more and more and more during that time. Right now, she is doing way better, and of course, she recently lost the Future of Stardom title, but that's another review for another time. But however, she came up with a bad loss, and this time Momo actually won the match. And if you noticed, I mentioned Ina, Queen's Quest, so that's 1-for-1 from there. And this one is 2-for-2-0 on this one. The next match was, of course, another singles match. We got another member of Queen's Quest, Saya Kamitani, taking on Unagi Sayaka of Cosmic Angels. Now, this match was pretty good. Now, Unagi has a tendency to be the tough girl, like try to get down and stir things up. But however, you cannot unmatch the unusual abilities of Saya Kamitani. If you guys know this or not, she does unorthodox moves that you're not sure if she can pull it off or she could. And she's one tough girl. And if you guys know this or not, Saya Kamitani was one time a protege of Tam Nakano until she betrayed her and joined Queen's Quest. But it was Kamitani that beat Unagi Sayaka on this one. And as you know now, the first three matches, it's all Queen's Quest. Now, Azumi is a Queen's Quest, but she did not lose or win the match, so she wasn't pinned. But we do have the other members of the other member of Queen's Quest, Utami Hayashida, who we'll talk about her a little later. This next match is an elimination 10-woman tag team match. Now, this is the stipulation. This story has been built up. This is a war between two different factions. There's the heel faction, Oda Tai, and of course, the face faction, Stars. Now, Oda Tai has been trying to start wars with anybody to prove a point. They began starting wars when, of course, two members of Oda Tai betrayed Stars. One of them is Saki Kashima and Ruka. And of course, this type of stipulation, elimination match, whoever's the last person to be pinned or submitted are automatically drafted to Oda Tai. But of course, the last person that volunteered to be the last they were hoping for was Mayu Iwatani. Now, they could not afford to lose her. But of course, once, like any other story, Oda Tai used her cheating ways to ensure they win. But it was Saki Kashima who picked up a victory when she pinned Kokigen Death, the clown. And now that they obtained her, they decided to change her name to Fukigen Death. And of course, this was a big loss for Mayu Iwatani, losing someone that she cares about. And of course, Konomi, a member of Oda Tai, making fun of them, saying that it's going to be the end of Stars. But no matter how hard Mayu gets with people being snatched up from her, she refuses to give up that easily. But we don't. But will she be able to obtain her? Well, we'll see what happens, since I'll be reviewing a lot of these events. Now, the next match is a title match. This is the white belt, or as we know it, the Wonder of Stardom belt. This is between Natsupoi of DDM versus the leader of Cosmic Angels and the champion Tam Nakano. This story was built up amazingly, where it tells Tam Nakano and Natsupoi were once friends and now they're bitter enemies. Now, Natsupoi has been trying to catch up to the level of Natsuko, but recently, back in the All-Star Dream Cinderella, around the same time where Tam actually won the One Number Star, she also obtained the high speed title. Now, she thinks the high speed will give her the advantage to win the One Number Star, but however, Tam Nakano proved the wrong that no matter if she is the high speed, even if she can catch up, then she has the better luck next time. But however, I did notice how Natsupoi, much like Tam, who never gave up trying to obtain the white belt, Natsupoi is determined to win that. And of course, there is no doubt in Tam Nakano's mind. She knows that title will be that she's targeted for that title, but the real question is, can she defend it well? Now, the next match, this one is for the red belt, or as we know it, the World of Stardom title. This one is the top title. This is between two former friends and two now turned enemies. We got the challenger, B. Priestley. Is if you know this or not, Priestley was once a member of Queen's Quest until she betrayed them and joined Odatai, facing off her former friend Utami Hayashida. Now, it's not the first time that, of course, B. Priestley has become the red belt champion, but this time she had to go through Utami to get it. In its one brutal match, it told the story how she's determined, B. Priestley was determined to prove that Utami and the rest of Queen's Quest, they suck. But this time, it was Utami who proved her wrong, that they don't suck, when she pinned her very well and retained the red belt once again. But however, the promo, that's when things got interesting. She even invited Momo to get in the ring. As you know, they were once best friends when she joined Queen's Quest. But this time, they'd announced that she was leaving Stardom, and I think the Japanese commentating team, were in shock that this was happening. And this really was the official last match that, of course, we see B. Priestley in Stardom. This is before she already was being looked at by WWE to go to NXT UK. This was something I already talked about before, but however, that's another conversation for another time. But it was a good match, and of course, she gave both Tani and Momo goodbye, and this was the last time that we'll ever see her. And funny thing is, she was the only gaijin that ever participated in Stardom. So it was Jamie Hayter, but I'm still haven't got the chance to look into that. But it was a good match. Now the main event, this was interesting. It's DDM versus DDM. We got the challengers, Julia and Sudi of DDM versus the champions Himeka and Maika of DDM. This was one of those matches that was so intensity. DDM are always the one team that definitely wants to put on a good show, and this is one that kind of shows that Julia and Sudi are willing to take the tag team division down in Stardom into a different level, and it was Julia and Sudi that beat Himeka and Maika. However, they know that they will love to face both of them once again once they beat them for the titles, and this will not be the last time we'll hear of them. So right now, if you guys are asking me, are they still the champions? The answer to that is yes, they still are. But like I said, I'm still trying to catch up to what's going on right now. But I'm working as fast as I can to catch up for all of you to understand what's been going on then. But for right now, I think I'll end it right here with Stardom and go move forward with Impact Wrestling's Emergence. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to review is, of course, Impact Wrestling Emergence. The reason this was supposed to be on a Friday instead of a Saturday is, of course, they don't want to overshadow with WWE's SummerSlam from what it's worth, but I'm okay with the idea. The opening match was between Matt Cardona being accompanied by his fiancee Chelsea Green to take on Rohit Raju and being accompanied by Shera. Now, this match was built up when, of course, Rohit was not happy with the loss of the match, and he almost hurt Chelsea Green. And of course, it was Rohit Raju that cost Cardona a match against John Skyler. But the match was pretty interesting. However, Shera was being careful what Matt Cardona was doing. But however, you know for a fact that Shera is lurking around, that he'll ensure that Rohit will win this one. But you got Chelsea, who has Matt Cardona in his back. But however, this time with Matt Cardona, he was able to put the radio silence on Rohit Raju to win the match. But however, Shera comes out, spoil the party, and tries to hurt Cardona, but Chelsea stepped up to him. Now, Shera refuses to hurt a woman. He's being the gentleman, so he walked away. So basically, he's too much of a coward to even do anything, but he had to. The next match is a 8-person tag team match. We have, of course, Tasha Steelz and Savannah Evans teaming up with Falabal and No Way, taking on all 4 members of Decay. This match, don't know if this is what was the build-up of it, but I can guess that maybe Tasha Steelz and Savannah Evans will probably want to obtain the Knockouts tag team titles, and that's pretty much it. And of course, Falabal did the best he could. Of course, there was like the zombie bite that we saw with Rosemary, Havoc, and of course Crazy Steve. But however, it was Crazy Steve that picked up the victory for his team, proving a point that they are still in control of that. So it's only a matter of time until we may see Decay maybe grab some more titles, since now they have the Knockouts tag team titles in their grasp. This next match is between Steve Maclin and Petey Williams. Now keep in mind, Steve Maclin tried to hurt Trey Miguel, but Petey Williams showed up to help him. And of course, this beef happened because of that. They've been going at each other. Petey Williams tried to do everything in his power to put Steve Maclin in his place. But however, it was showing how Steve Maclin is unbeatable, that nothing could phase him, nothing could touch him. And it played out a pretty good storyline on that. However, Maclin somehow was able to take an advantage when the ref had his back turned, did not see the low blow that he gave to Petey Williams to allow himself to win. And of course, he tossed Petey Williams out of the ring, proving that he is the dominant one in this match, which he is, but sooner or later someone's going to knock him out. The next match we have Madison Rayne being accompanied by both Caleb with Decay and Tennille Dashwood taking on Taylor Wilde. Now, this whole thing began this past Thursday. Was it Thursday? No, a week ago or so, where Tennille Dashwood was in a match against, of course, Taylor Wilde. The match seems like it could have gone in favor of Taylor Wilde, but however, Madison Rayne showed up and attacked her. Now, Taylor Wilde did mention in an interview earlier that ever since she first appeared to Impact, that Tennille's been looking for a tag team partner, and now she found Tennille. Now, if you guys remember, not too long ago, Madison Rayne did team with her for the Knockouts tournament, and she walked out. So it's still unclear what's the purpose of that. But once again, because of this match, Caleb with Decay and Tennille got involved, allowing for Madison Rayne to win. But this is not over with Taylor Wilde, because she hasn't forgotten what Caleb with Decay did, putting her on at the Canadian border, stuck there, unable to cross. He said, the guy who called it says he's Calvin with Decay. Yeah, you can guess. Now, this next match is the number 1 contendership for the Impact World title. We have the 4 competitors. We have Moose, Ace Austin, Chris Sabin, and Sami Callihan. These are men who want a chance of the Impact World title. We got Moose, who's been trying to get his hands on that title ever since he was unable to prove he is a champion material. And then, of course, there's Ace Austin, who thinks he's inevitable to obtain that title, to be the first ever youngest Impact Wrestling World Champion. And of course, we got Chris Sabin, who is determined to stop Moose from obtaining that title, even though he himself has been a champion. Then, of course, we got what's his name, Sami Callihan, who's trying to obtain a title that he wants back in his waist, but he has to go through 3 other men. But it was a really fun match, really intense. But however, the way this ended, Sami Callihan got Moose where he wanted him, whacked him with the chair, but Ace Austin took the opportunity and pinned Moose when he realized what happened, allowing himself to be the #1 contender for the Impact Wrestling World Championship. However, the main event is none other than the one with Christian and Brian Myers, but we'll get to that in a bit. The next match is an X Division title match between Jake Something and champion Josh Alexander. This match was insane, so brutal. Now you could say, but J-Rod, isn't it the X Division, of course, for high flyers? True, but recently we've been seeing wrestlers that can actually go no limit no matter how it is. And I think that's what plays out. Basically, the X Division is all about no limits. And that's always been the history of the X Division, if you guys been a fan of. But it is one of the most interesting titles that we ever watched, including for me. But I have to say, Josh Alexander, Jake Something, best match I've ever seen of the night. And of course, but it was Josh Alexander that pinned Jake Something to retain the X Division title. Now, the next match we have is a mixed tag team match. We have Deonna Purrazzo and Matthew Renwall taking on Melina and Trey Miguel. This happened because of what happened this past Thursday. Melina won her match against Brandi Lauren, but out of nowhere, she was attacked by Deonna Purrazzo, and then, of course, Matt Renwall showed up to give her the helping hand. Then Trey Miguel helped them. But this match was okay. Not gonna criticize it. And even though the funny part is Trey tried to split, but he was in no luck. But it was a pretty good match. But it did show how Deonna Purrazzo is going to prove a point that she is the dominant one, that this is the age of the Virtuosa. And she's going to prove that at NWA Empower when she faces Melina for the Knockouts title. But we'll see when we get to Empower when that day comes. Now, the next match is a 3-way Impact World Tag Team title. Now, this was a match that the Good Brothers did not want whatsoever because, keep in mind, in 3-way matches, this is one of those matches where the Good Brothers, who are the champions, they don't need to be pinned. That's one of the disadvantages that they know they're going to have to, how do I say, they have to be more concerned about. But this was a match that was requested by Violent by Design because they want to reacquire these titles and, of course, to prove that this world belongs to them. However, Rich Swann and Willie Mack, who were supposed to have a tag team title shot, decided to do this, and it turned out to be a 3-way. But it did show a lot of things about Violent by Design, who could be the weakest link, and that weakest link turned out to be Rhino. So he got pinned by Carl Anderson to give him that one spot that he needed to win. And I think it pissed off Eric Young. But the real question is, what consequences will he face now since they were unable to regain those tag titles? So we'll never know. Now we jump into the main event, which is Christian versus Brian Myers, who Brian Myers believes that he's the franchise, the most professional wrestler. So this time, but of course Christian, who is a veteran, we all know that he will not have his guard down because we know he has Sam Beal, his little young boy, who's learning from. But however, he gets himself get hurt countless times again. And of course, it was Christian that was able to pull the kill switch onto Brian Myers. And better luck next time, Brian Myers, because you did not win the title. But now it was Christian that retained the title when he pulled off the kill switch and retained it. But however, we'll see what happens in the fallout because we do know he will confront against Ace Austin now that he is #1 contender, and this is going to be a very interesting storyline that I definitely gotta watch. Well, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I know that the wrestling world has been talking about the return of CM Punk back in the ring after 7 years. I'm very excited what he's going to do right now with AEW. There's a lot of questions. I know there's been things. There is something you can watch on the AEW YouTube channel where CM Punk and Tony Khan are being asked questions by various news media outlets that you can see. I'll see if I can try to put that on the description down below if I can. But for now, this is what I'm going to do. Now, for the next episode, I am going to got to move pro wrestling involved. If you guys know this or not, today we even had GCW's get off get off rails or off the rail. I know off the rails or something like that. Pretty interesting event. This took place in Las Vegas, and of course, I didn't get a chance to see it because I was caught up with this right now. But I will put that. I'm still undetermined whether there is the possibility that I may either see one or the other. There's two shows that are going to happen around the same time. That is Warrior Wrestling, where Switchblade will make his debut on the Stadium Series, or as he calls it, the Switchblade Series. And then, of course, don't forget SummerSlam, and I might see that. But if there's any time or anything else, I'll probably will throw in maybe another Japanese promotion. I haven't decided yet, but for now, I'll keep this how it is. Just saying the Gato and of course Choco Pro and of course GCW are in that list. As for SummerSlam and Warriors Wrestling, we'll just gotta wait and see once it happens, because I watch all the wrestling events on Watch Pro Wrestling. That's how I roll my life. When it comes to it, I don't have like the Peacock, Impact Plus, or anywhere else except for, of course, the Fi Wrestling out of Seattle. But for now, this is how I'm gonna end it right now to let you guys know what's gonna happen. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.